it has been a long time since I've done a video for our EV adventures. Oh man, yeah. Through the pandemic and the lockdown, through my other part of my life as a minister, we were creating so many videos for church and all of that that's going on. So I do have one of somebody else in the car here. And how many were we doing? Sometimes we were doing like 2 or 3 videos a week, right? Yeah. And some of those quite long ones. So that really kind of took up all of our video production time and energy from kind of when we got this car, wasn't it? Basically through. And so actually we've got a new gimbal and all kinds of other things during that time to help, but it didn't really go to helping for creating any videos for EV driving or anything like that. So I thought I really should try and do a few more just as an update on where we are with things. So we're off to take the dogs for a walk out in the woods in Aberdeenshire. It is 7 degrees outside. It's actually, we've still got a little bit of sun, but it's about to set. So it's quite a nice day, and it'll be muddy, I'm sure, where we're about to go, but that is us. So a bit of an update on where we are with the car. So we've still got the MG ZS, which we are in now, and we still have the Renault Zoe. And I might do another video on the Zoe when I can get my hands on it and maybe give it a clean as well. Pretty much in need of a clean, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely.
Bit of a health hazard, to be honest. But anyway, we'll do that. So the MG ZS we have had now for I was going back to check. So we had ordered it in October of 2019, and it arrived just at the beginning of 2020. March time, I think it was. It was just exactly at the time that we went into the first of the lockdowns, and then we picked it up in June, I think it was, something like that. So we've had it for 2.5 years or so, something like that, and we have done 23,196 miles. So it's had a couple of services during that period, and yeah, all is pretty much well. We did have an issue with the windscreen, and I think it was last winter it developed a crack, and it had just been a little tiny crack right at the base of the windscreen, and then over the course of the summer it had slowly grown to about yay high, something like that, just right in the middle of the windscreen, just worked its kind of way up. And then we hit this winter, and it's been pretty cold up here, of course, and with putting the full heat on, with a crack already there, with it iced up, well, it just went mad. So the crack, I mean, you could literally on some mornings see it growing as it was defrosting. So that was that wasn't ideal. So the windscreen, as you'll see, looking out of it, there is nothing on it. It's just been replaced a few weeks ago, and all is fine. I was just a little bit anxious about that because of all the camera kit and everything that's in it, and they couldn't do the windscreen repair at home. I had to take it into a place to get it done. So you can have a wee break if you like. We're stopped at lights just to. I don't have the suction cup for the windscreen is in the Zoe. We don't have it here, so we've got a wee tripod set up on the dashboard. Just a little bit anxious. Any excited acceleration will send it flying across the car. So yeah, I was a bit I think when they put the new windscreen in, they have to then recalibrate the cameras for the anti-collision and the lane following and all of that stuff for that system. But it actually has been absolutely fine. They did that and no problems at all. All the difference I can tell is that I don't have a crack in the screen. It's a different screen. It hasn't come from SAIC itself. It's a different manufacturer, and there's a few little other marks on the screen which are a bit different, but otherwise it all looks exactly right. The kind of shading around it and all of that is exactly the same. Don't notice any difference. Of course, it is still not a tinted windscreen, and that is for sure one of the bugbears that we have with this car, having lived with it through a couple of summers now, is that, well, you guys really notice it as well in the back, don't you? Yeah. Like when the sun is streaming through without any, it gets you could feel it burning your skin. So it is that's not ideal, and I wish that was a bit different. Right, we're off here. Roadworks on this wee country road here. So that's really the only thing that has been a kind of an issue. There've been a few little gremlins with the driver's door. So occasionally, like you put the window down and stop it, and then when you try to pull the thing to let the window go back up again, it doesn't go up, it goes back down. So it's like a weird little wiring issue. And I know there was a recall on the wiring for the driver's door. So I think when it goes in for a service, I'll flag that up. And then for the first time ever on Sunday, when I went to get out of the car, I couldn't. So the door wouldn't do anything. It was weird. I unlocked a few times, and the interior door handle wouldn't do a thing. It just would pull out with no kind of resistance to it at all. I tried the passenger door and it was working fine. I was able to get out just by rolling the window down and using the exterior door. And I thought, oh, that's it. It's going to have to go in get that sorted, because that's going to be a pain in the neck to live with. And when I came back out to the car a few hours later and unplugged it, got in, it worked fine. And it's been fine ever since. So I don't know what that was. So you do wonder, it felt like a deadlock issue, that the deadlock had remained kind of off, disconnected. So I do wonder if there is something in this door that is needing to be looked at. And then the other thing that happened a few weeks ago is that the door mirrors stopped closing up, folding in when you locked the car, and it just seemed to happen. And I thought, oh, well, that's really weird. And tried fiddling around with the switch and trying to manually fold them and unfold them, and nothing. They just remained open. So again, that's not the end of the world. I thought, well, next time it goes in, I'll get them to have a look at that. Just where we live, it's on a bus route, and the buses do get close to the cars. So yeah, we have had wing mirror damage on one of the other cars before. So it would be nice to be able to have them folded in. And then I looked on happened to be looking on a forum. I'd done a search for it, and I saw somebody talking about how you can reset them, which I must admit I hadn't looked at the manual to see if there was anything about it. And I found that yes, you can actually reset them by folding in holding down the switch at the kind of folding position for a while. Now, it took a few attempts to do this, and it was a weird process. So I held it down for like 10 seconds, and then I think it was the passenger mirror then just folded on its own. I was like, ooh, that's odd. And then I did it again, and then the driver's one folded in, and then I undid it, and they folded back out again. And then I did it again, and then they both folded in. And now, when I unlock or lock the door, they're folding and unfolding as they should. Weird city. So that is just, I think those are the only things that have actually, these are pretty minor, you'll realise. Otherwise, it's all been fine. Had not had any problems with the charging or anything like that, and the driving has all been okay. So that is good news indeed. So I just had having a look at the kind of what the stats are on the car at the moment. So our accumulated total is 5,200 miles it has got on that, and the consumption has been 3.2 miles per kilowatt hour. Oh, don't know what's going on here. Somebody is getting out of the van. All right. So that includes the winter, which has been pretty bad up here. And I must admit, for whenever we're just doing our driving around town, our kind of normal driving, the heating is on, the heated seats are usually on. We don't skimp on the heating, right? So yeah, that's okay, I guess. I mean, it's, yeah. We did, so dog here, Layla, who we've had for 3 years, but we lost one of our other dogs earlier in the year, and so there's another dog in the back there. And my wife and I drove down to Skegness to pick up this dog just between Christmas and New Year, so the weather was pretty rotten and it was cold, and so we went in the ZS all the way down, and so that was actually the first time we've done kind of a long journey in this car. Most of our longer journeys are just down to Glasgow and back, which if you're careful you can do in one. In the winter, you usually need a short top off on the way down to get down there. But this was a long journey where we were doing multiple stops on the way down to Skegness. And so a couple of good things. I mean, the charging network was fine. We just kind of looked ahead to roughly where the range would take us, and then found where we were going to charge, and that was all fine. The cost was scary. Of course, we're not doing it very often, so we just paid what we needed to pay at the charges. But boy, mamma mia, the days of free charging for long journeys, that is long gone. But otherwise it was fine. And in fact, the hotel which was just a little place that we booked, happened to have a charger in the car park. So when we got there at like 3 a.m, because it was late, it was into the afternoon before we even left, we were able to charge up while we slept, and it was all ready to go next morning, which was great. But we weren't kind of hanging around too much. We were, well, I guess probably 65 miles an hour-ish most of the time. And as I say, it was cold. So it was not the best for consumption on the way down. However, it took a long time for the battery to warm up. So I think it was we probably charged maybe 4 times on the way down, and it wasn't until the last one that we were getting full speed on the charger, just because the battery was so cold, and because we were driving relatively efficiently on the way down, the battery hadn't got a chance to properly warm up. And I wasn't wanting to hammer it because I wanted the range between, but you get stuck between that whole thing about whether it would be better just to use a lot up and get the battery up to temperature and then charge quicker, or be more gentle as you're driving. There's difficult to know what's the right thing to do sometimes on those things. And anyway, it was It was fine, the journey down. It's just that it was quite slow charging. So when I mean slow, we were probably like, mid-30s kilowatts charging speed for most of our charging. And it was only maybe the last couple where it was heading over 40. And then the last one when we got a proper 48, 49 kilowatts on a 50 kilowatt charger. So that was a bit frustrating, and I'm sure that was all just temperature related. But it was okay. It meant we had a stops on the way down, and it was nice being able to go further between stops than when I've done previous long journeys in the Zoe, where you're really having to stop much more frequently. So it was entirely manageable and not bad. And on the way home, just did the same. That was more during the day, and we were needing to stop to let the dog out, and it was all absolutely fine. So we didn't really have any problems with any of the chargers. There are only a few places where we had to wait to get a charge, but otherwise, this is where we're turning, isn't it? Yes. The sign, you only come across this sign when you're on top of it to know that this is where you're going to turn up. So that was all good, and the car was absolutely fine on the way down. You do notice with it, as anyone that has driven one of these, that it's not the most restful suspension wise for long journeys. It's the short wheelbase that it has, and not particularly good damping. Does mean it kind of bounces around a bit more, and when you're used to cars with a slightly more refined suspension, that does get a bit wearisome. But the auto cruise control, adaptive cruise control, and the lane following was great. That just helps on long journeys, just to take a bit of the pain away. So I let that do a lot of the heavy lifting on the way, and that all worked all right. So that was all good. So that was our first long journey in the car, and no problems at all. I wish I had taken a wee kind of snapshot of what what our usage had been of energy, but we were in a rush and it was late and all of that kind of stuff, so I hadn't been well thought of. Hadn't thought about that enough for that. But there you go. That's life. Right. Well, we are nearly here at the woods for taking these doggies for a wee jolly. So I think we're in this really fancy mode on the camera where we can switch around camera views. So do you want to switch around the different camera view? You can just flip it onto the other camera to look pointing forward, so the wee circly bit. Yeah. Ooh, look at that. And then you can pick another camera that's even more zoomed in. Yeah. On the verge, isn't that beautiful? Last time I came down here, you couldn't even get down here. It was all blocked because of the flooding that we'd had. So at least we're able to get down here now. Well, that's good. Oh, yes. We will have, very shortly, extremely muddy dogs, I have a feeling. And this is the first time that the other dog has ever been here. In fact, only the second time in her life. She's 18 months old, and we kind of rescued her from a place where she had really mostly just been kept inside. Poor little thing. And yeah, so woods and all of this is a whole new adventure for this wee dog. So that's fun. Mostly the car is okay, but I don't know if you can hear, there's a slight little rattle in the back as we're going up this unmade road. There are a few little rattles from the car. There's one from the sunroof that sometimes recurs, but otherwise it's not been too bad. Right, are you ready? Let's go take these doggies. Hey.